Christmas after Christmas, I walk in here out of the cold usually, and I carry high in my hands a little child, barely born. Sometimes the child is beaming from something only they understand. Sometimes wailing, so afraid. And sometimes, oh, so curious. And I hold that little child high. And as I do, so many of you respond with fear and wonder. Wonder because I can see your delight when you see her. When you see her, you're all so cute. As you nudge your kids and your spouse to look. But fear too. What if he drops it? One grandma I know and love refused to let me carry up her grandchild down this Long Island. So great was her panic. But I know I couldn't drop her. I knew I wouldn't drop her. I would rather die than to have that happen. But I also know that if I did, hundreds of hands would reach out for the baby. In that moment, it would be all about the child, as it should be, especially on a night like Christmas. But always, really, always. All eyes are on the child. Like when a toddler waddles onto the living room floor and adults, grown-ups are sitting all around. All of a sudden, all eyes are on the child, watching out so that if he falls or she tips towards the corner of an end table, we are all there before she is to protect her. We see it in the news feeds as well, where there's an immigrant mom wading through a raging river or a flood decimating their town. Mom is desperately trying to hold high her child. Or we see it in dads trying to shove massive amounts of concrete aside after an earthquake, just to find his child. And if they're lucky enough to find him or her, to cradle him in their arms and let them bleed out so that they can get the help they need, arms outstretched. Is there anything that breaks our hearts more than those reports from war zones from Ukraine to the Middle East, seeing a lifeless body of a little child? It falls to us grown-ups to keep an eye on the child. Always. For sure, that baby born 2,000 years ago we celebrate tonight, they named Yeshua, Jesus, and the wonder and the fear that surrounded his little life. But all the wee ones we celebrate tonight, all the wee ones in our lives, in our families, our neighborhoods, and our schools. And maybe that one other this Christmas, the child within you. That little kid in you who deserves to be loved. Still, after all these years, cherished, nurtured, even now, and can be. Perhaps this year at this point, what I sense about us grown-ups is true. That we're feeling a little more fragile inside, a little more vulnerable, a little bit more in touch with the child inside of us. And so I hold the baby high as this aging, stiff shoulder can hold him now, as high as I imagine Mother Mary held him and Joseph too, so the shepherds could see, and those wise men too. But I hold that child high also because I want all of us to and hold that wee one high up to the light, high up to the one who is love, and high enough for you and for me to see, especially tonight. You see, that little child is still within us. We carry what was of us into the next thing, you and I. Childhood into being a young school, grade school kid, to high school, adolescence, to young adulthood, college, graduate school, to being dads and moms. We carry that little baby still. She or he doesn't go away just because it was yesterday. All the stages of our lives are here with us, right now, tonight, in these very pews, in us right now. And no matter how further along we are in our journey, every once in a while, we need to come back to the wee one. Maybe to give it what perhaps it never got or missed out on. Maybe to remember how lucky he was to be born into this world, into this family, into this life. As imperfect, perhaps, as all of our parents are, some days. Every once in a while I see it in our students' eyes, that he or she seems to be on the edge of tears as I listen to their story. I see it in their eyes, starting to water up, trying to pull back as somebody maybe once said to them, don't cry. Big boys and girls don't cry. Don't cry over spilled milk. But oh, they do. And sometimes all I say after they share their story is, if I start to notice those little tears coming out of the corner of their eyes, I say, you deserve a good cry. And the dam breaks. And oh, do they cry. A cry backed up in them for way too long. Just waiting for someone to care, someone to show compassion toward that wounded little kid inside them, and us all. Nobody, including Jesus of Nazareth himself, gets out of childhood unscathed. And it's those wounds that can still keep us from giving and receiving love even now, even at 72 years old. Yes, that little child inside of you deserves to be held high and loved, held close and cherished, and maybe finally given the love that maybe it didn't get in some of those early years that were interrupted for one reason or another. But it's never too late to be loved, It's never too late to be loved. And so much of that can be healed now. Because it's what love does. And maybe that's why that first Christmas baby grew older, and not long before he died, he would stop everything. In the middle of the talk he was given, waxing eloquently about many things, he would stop everything and lift up the children for everybody to see. Let the children come to me, he said. Let the child inside of you, he might have said. Let them come to me. It is to just such as these that the kingdom of God belongs. He's not referring just to the children in front of him there. He's referring to all of us, perhaps who have grown grumpy with age, and worse for wear. But that little guy still lives in you. And he or she's just wanting to be held, still, waiting to be lifted up to the light. What mom, what dad would not risk everything to save their child? Even the child of a stranger. Are you prepared this Christmas night to tend to the little child inside of you who is crying out still for attention it might have missed somewhere along the line? On this Christmas night, might that still be possible? Have you ever noticed how many of our Christmas songs are lullabies? The song we came up to, What Child Is This? Or O Little Town of Bethlehem. Or It Came Upon a Midnight Clear, even Silent Night. They're all lullabies. We love the image of the child in his mother's arms. And a big part of the reason we love that image is because there's still a part of all of us who wants to be held like that little child. Again, even at the age of 72, who wants to be that child held by God. It really doesn't matter if you're 2 or 22 or 72. All of us, without exception, deep down, if we would admit it, want to be able to hold each other in God's own everlasting grace and sing to us our own favorite lullaby. Let yourself imagine that, if you would. Let your eyes rest on that vulnerable, defenseless, otherwise not able to care for him or herself, baby that was you. And know deeper than you know anything, that you are loved like that. By a greater love than you can even imagine, you are still loved like that. You. And know that God, right now, is holding you. And that love will be enough to face any challenging circumstance that ever presents itself to you. Tonight.